Welcome back to our TimeMD video tutorial series. We are continuing with our demo account setup. We've already completed 5 steps. We're on step number 6, rounding rules. As with any of the other steps, if you have any questions regarding any of the previous steps, please go back. Feel free to watch those videos again. But for now, we're going to go ahead and continue with rounding rule setups. So, rounding rules. Rounding rules, as the name implies, is a way for the system to round the time being recorded into the system. Now we want to make sure we're very clear on what that means. We do not round the total time worked. For example, if someone worked 8 hours and 3 minutes, some might imply that rounding would mean that we should round to 8 hours. That's not necessarily the case. What we do is we actually round the start and or the end time, therefore resulting in a rounded time. So in other words, if someone comes in, if we're rounding the start time at say 7:50 and we want to round that up to 8 o'clock in the morning, then the system can do that. So to proceed, let's go ahead and set up a rule. Now, as with the same rule applies here as with our pay group section, and that is the setting up of the rule is a multi-step process. This is just the first step. So we're actually going to just give this a name. Let's do top of hour rounding. We can input anything we want, but as it implies, we're going to set up a rule that basically if someone shows up just before the top of the hour, is going to round up to that time. So we're going to submit the form. Now all we've done now is just given this rule a name. Now we need to give it some parameters. We need the system to actually know what to do with this rule. So here, let's go ahead and click Create New Rounding Rule Parameter. We're going to go ahead and open up this window a little bit so we can see all the options. Now the clock action we're going to record against is the in punch only. But as this implies, we actually have 2 other options. We can do out punch only or in and out. But we're going to do just the in punch. We're to compare against the top of the hour. Now once we've made that selection, we're presented with a bunch more fields. Now this is where you can get very specific with this rounding. Now if the punch is before the check against time, which in this case is top of the hour, what do you want it to do? So round time up to the check against time or the top of the hour. If fixed amount, we don't need to worry about that. We can leave that blank. But we only want to round the time if the person arrived within a certain window. Let's say within 15 minutes of the top of the hour. So we'll go ahead and select 15 of the check time. Then otherwise, if it's before that, do we want it to do anything? In this case, no. Let's just leave it blank. Now since we're doing just if it's before and not what happens after, we can go ahead and ignore the rest of these rules because this is asking what to do if it's after the top of the hour. So if somebody shows up at say 8:05, what do you want the system to do? In this case, do nothing. And we can leave the rest of these fields blank. Next is asking what time of the day do you want these punches to be rounded. So if there's just a window you want times to be rounded, you can tell the system what that window is. In this case, that's irrelevant. This can be any time of the day. Finally, what days do we want this rounding to occur? Now, if we have people arriving 7 days of the week, then let's go ahead and select all 7 days of the week. Now, this is a very common step which is missed. So if you find that you've set up a rounding rule, but your times aren't being rounded, make sure you have your weekdays checked. So let's go ahead and review. Everything looks good. We'll go ahead and click Submit Form. And we're good to go. We have our rule. Now we're going to go ahead and do another one really quick, and that is a no rounding rule. So in case we don't want any rounding to occur. So we're going to go ahead and click Create New Rounding Rule. Call it No Rounding. But this time we're going to click Specify as a no rounding rule. Click Submit Form, and the system will automatically create all the parameters required for that to happen. So now we have 2 rules to pick from, a no rounding rule and a top of hour rounding. Now, as with all our rules, you can input as many as you like. It's completely at your discretion. You can have fun with this, input as many as you think you need. And as with all of our other videos, if you have any questions, please email us at support@timemd.com, and we thank you for your time.